Welcome to Two Humans Talking, the podcast that explores the challenges and struggles of living healthy in a modern, fast paced world. I'm Tiffany Sims, nutritionist, high performance coach, and I just love simplifying healthy living so that future generations never know what it's like to need to go on a diet to feel healthy again.
And I'm Chelsea Scroggins, your yoga teacher and motivational speaker. And I love talking about all things that enhance the life. And today we were going to talk about a very touchy subject of what's going on in the world as of right now. And Tiff, what is that subject?
So while all of us were worried about an imploded submarine, the USDA approved cell cultivated meat and they're calling it clean chicken. Do you want to know what's really crazy about this whole cellular agriculture is a new branch of science where the whole goal is to grow everything that we consume in a lab from cells from real animals. And
Yep.
the claim for why this is so amazing is that to reduce the carbon footprint that the farming industry currently has on chicken, beef, lamb, dairy, like all of the foods that we're consuming. Like, is there a large carbon footprint? Yeah. But to say that we're reducing the carbon footprint is garbage. And then there is also in certain populations, a lot of people who went vegan because of the animal cruelty of, I didn't mean to quotations, but because of the animal cruelty for animals. And so they've gone vegan because they just didn't like the way that meat has been processed and the life of an animal. And so if there are people out there that would eat meat, if it was made and produced in a humane way, they would get those buyers back in the market share.
Yeah. I mean, if it was free range, if it was the process how it should be, people would eat the meat. And actually, that's what they're going for as consumers. They are actually doing that. They are getting the grass fed, the real free range, like people are putting their money in that way. And so they're stopping the cruelty free. And those who don't know are just buying because they don't do their research and it's too expensive or whatever have you. And they're ending up in the hospitals and it's a whole vicious cycle.
The crazy part is that it's very expensive. Like, this is not something that that's going to be in our grocery stores anytime soon, because the cost of production is really, really high for the technology required. And so it's being
It'll be
marketed as
sooner
a
than you think.
fancy elitist meat for all of the crunchy people who want to eat vegan and clean. And they're calling it clean meat. And so it's being marketed that way. But the thing that's driving me bonkers is that the everyday human who may not know what goes into the science and lab of things because they didn't study that in college or go that path, the amount of chemicals and hormone disruptors and all of the stuff that they have to treat those cells with in order to trick it that it's a living animal without a heartbeat to grow and multiply those cells, is not the thing that those elitists who care about their body would be happy to know.
Correct.
Because they're all about the pureness of their bodies and minimizing hormone disruptors. And so how did the USDA and the FDA approve something that is going to disrupt the hormone productions in our bodies if we eat them? And I'm sure there's someone who's like, the science doesn't prove that. You can't prove that yet. You're right. I can't prove that for another 25 years because we will not have the trial. But I'm not willing to be the research mouse.
Well, that's the
fired
thing.
Up, Chelsea.
It's okay. It's all by design. So they, brought it to light. Now animals are cruel, or we're cruel to animals, which, yes, there is people out there that are cruel to animals. There is companies out there that we won't name names are very cruel to animals because it's all about a buck instead of really sustaining the environment and helping and making people stay alive. But if you think about it as consumers, which that is what all of us are, we buy in abundance. And if we didn't do that and we honored, like going back to what you talk about, honoring our like intuitive eating, right? And then we wouldn't eat as much and we wouldn't consume as much. And it would all just be dandy back in the day when it was all dandy. But now they made it like that. And now, oh, hey, look, now we're going to bring this. And instead of being cruel to the animals, we're now officially going to be cruel to the people, but we're not going to say it like that. But it's all by design. So
My science brain,
that's
this is freaking cool that we are able to do that in a lab. But at the same time, that doesn't mean just because we can do it that I should be eating it.
yeah, I mean, it is kind of cool that you can do that, but it's also kind of spooky in a way because it's like, it's just like it goes back to, you know, ibuprofen and Tylenol, like just because we can now make this medicine in a lab, but if we actually go down to really what it was natural herbs from the earth that they've now chemically compounded, and nobody like talks about that, but they're like, take this Tylenol, and in reality you should be taking white willow. Like it's the same concept. So now instead of taking the real meat, they're like, oh, we made it better, it's now in a lab. I mean, it's the same thing, right? They changed the herbs to pills, now they're changing the meat to lab meat.
And you know, if it was cost effective, I would totally be on board in the way of if that was how we were actually able to provide more food to maybe not that lower struggling countries don't deserve real food, but the production of food and getting that over there and shipped so that we're feeding these poverty, like below poverty in third world countries. Like maybe if that would like help
Not
solve that
even
problem, but
though,
it
like,
doesn't. But it doesn't. It doesn't even.
but that's not the design. But if you want to do that, if that's what you're trying to do, then we need to start teaching people how to really consume what they need, stop overbuying, stop panic buying,
Yes,
buy
that's
what you need,
true.
and then instead of, and then teach the stores, stop wasting this food, give it to those who need it. Because if you've ever worked in a grocery store, which I don't know if you have, but if somebody comes in and they steal one condom, they have to poke a hole in all the other condoms. If somebody steals one water, they have to dump all the water out. If somebody, like,
Oh,
that's how they do it. They have to destroy the product, which makes no sense at all, because why are
I'm
you
surprised it
destroying a
doesn't just go on the discount
product
shelf.
when there's people out there, even here in America, not even just overseas, that don't have the food. Instead, we're destroying it because I don't know. It's a lawsuit. I don't know what their logic behind it all is and why you have to destroy it, but that just makes no sense. So you wouldn't have to do this if we just
Also true.
were normal
So like
humans,
I
good
really don't actually
humans.
believe that either. What I had just like the thought I had of like maybes, like no, that's not true either. Sometimes you just have to say things out loud and process it to be like, no, I don't like that either.
But
So
I get that. I get what you're saying of like, okay, if we can solve hunger, world hunger, that's basically what you were trying to say there,
yeah,
which, yeah, that sounds good. But then, like, you just go back to the basics again. Like, if we're really trying to solve hunger, we totally could. Because I am guilty. Like, I buy produce and then I'm like, oh crap, it's molded because I have overabundance because I've lived in it, and it's shitty. It's shitty to have that feeling. Honestly, I'm not like, whoa, so glad I'm throwing this away. That's great. I live in such great, I feel guilty. I feel shitty. So it's really horrible to have that feeling too. And like, I need to be more mindful, but I'm guilty of, oh, the prices are going to go up. So then I buy the things
well,
that are on sale, and like, like I fall into
I
that, and
really
it's
do only
all
buy what I can eat because I'm tired.
proud of you.
Because I get tired. I decided a long time ago I was tired of throwing food away. And it had nothing to do with my environmental footprint as much as I felt like I was putting dollars just straight in the trash can. And so now I only buy what we're gonna eat. And like I might have
Proud
to
of
go to the
you.
grocery store
But
again.
see, it took you a minute. You still thrown thousands of dollars in the trash can. It taken you a minute to get there, right? And it took me a minute to only cook for two. Like I don't know. I grew up with my mom who like cooked for an army. So like I didn't know how to cook for two. And then finally I started learning how to cook for two and like getting down to where I wasn't making over, like because your mind. And then also getting to know yourself, like, oh, am I this hungry? You think you're more hungry than you really are. And like the whole thing. So
And I
yeah.
do need to say this because it's in my brain and then I can move on. I was talking earlier when we talked about it, I was very frustrated about the hormone disruptions and the cellular processing and all of that crap. And like, why is the USDA approving this for human consumption? Do not mistake that with like, I just had a bag of Funyuns yesterday and they were delicious. And I know that Funyuns, there's nothing about that that is a food product. And in that moment, I chose that decision because I enjoyed the flavors of them. And that's okay. But I don't want my poultry to be disrupting my whole cellular design. So
Yeah.
I don't
But
know why
then,
I felt the need to say that. I just don't want people to get the wrong impression. Like, I eat crap food too. Like, that's not the
yeah.
point.
Yeah. I mean, but it is kind of the point because if you're eating crap food, then you're also telling the FDA, yeah, this is approved. I'm
That's
buying it.
true.
I'm
That's true
supporting that.
too.
With your money, you're supporting that. So, but not to say, oh, I'm a martyr. I just have gummy
I'm not
bears. Okay.
perfect.
I just
I
have
am
gummy
not
bears.
perfect. I get frustrated that like why are the Funyuns on the shelf? Because they have known carcinogens in them, but yet I still chose
True.
to eat them. I get that. Um,
Yeah.
I guess I
No,
was
I
just
get it.
sharing that I am also human and do not take that as like Tiffany thinks she's
You're
perfect.
perfect.
That was not
And you're just talking down on everybody else. Totally get it. I totally get that.
so.
But yeah,
Anyway,
if we want to change the world, we have to change it with our dollar. We have to change it with what we eat and what we consume and all that too. And then you have to stand up for it. You have to speak about it. You have to,
so in the
get more
comments,
people to understand. That's really the truth too.
absolutely. Awareness is key.
Awareness. Yeah.
And
Bring
so
awareness to the masses.
with that, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments about what you think about cellular agriculture and cultivated meats and all of these things and hormone disruptors. Let us know your thoughts. And with that, two humans talking. Bye.
Bye.